Want to start? Oh, one more thing, sorry.
Mhm.
Do you want to be addressed by Convey or is there another moniker you'd like to go by?
I haven't thought about this part. I don't know. Yeah, convey's fine. I completely forget. Yeah, I don't know. As you know, my name's Zion, so it's right there. But honestly, Zion's fine.
All right,
Yeah.
Zion. Um, First and foremost, I'm going to do my little spiel. Hi guys, it's Anduel, tastemaker, curator, world changer, and I am here with the creative mind behind Convey. I would first like to start off with a very in-depth spiel that I got from one of your videos. It is of you talking about what convey means to you. And you said, convey is the beauty that God has placed and created on this planet and taking advantage while we are still here and can see said beauty. It is a choice to be outside the usual and to push people to take that choice. I found that incredibly profound when you stated it. And if you'd like to, I would like to open up the floor to you to let me know if that's still consistent with the convey mission.
Nah, man, true, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely still sorry. That is still very parallel to what Convey is and what it's always been for me. It's grown a little bit. I remember I made that video that was like maybe back in like 2023, 2024. It's grown a little bit to where I want to build even more of a community behind it. But the uh the standing behind that was that a lot of the times I remember that time a lot. The standing behind that was that just like from what I see, people take life for granted. Yeah, I also sometimes take life for granted. Is like we are not here forever in a sense. It's like a lot of people take life for granted. So it's while you're here, go out and go see something beautiful. And like when I had even said that, it doesn't always mean you need to spend $1,000 to go to Yosemite. No, there's beauty in everything. Even in like walking on the sidewalk or what staring at the pavement, you're gonna find some type of aspect of beauty in everything. There's beauty in, just man-made things. There's beauty in God-made things like the sky or even just the ocean, depending on where you are geographically. I mean, there's beauty everywhere. So it's like go outside and go see that beauty. So yeah, that's just what I try to show in my brand.
Of course. You touched on two things that I noticed are a consistent theme, which one is reflection. You're very reflective in your art. You talk about how you reflect in your whatever's going on in your life, as well as what you see outwardly, like your time in nature, as well as your time with other people, and your relationship with God. How big are those two themes in your art, and how much of a part do they play within your art? Um, one more thing, sorry, before I get into that question. I did notice that one of the first videos you posted ever was you use this Kanye West video and he talks about being used by God. I thought that was really profound. I don't notice too many other people talking about their relationship with God in this sense. Like I said, could you expound more upon reflection and the themes of God in your work?
Hmm. So I'm gonna start with the entire theme of God first. Uh, Profoundly. Labels, especially as of recent, labels have kind of become a very sticky subject for me. I do, yeah, sure, I am Christian, but more so I'm a follower of Jesus or a follower of Jesus, follower of God.
Mhm.
Uh, I feel, not feel, know that I am just, as a puppet in a sense, like how God, or not God, but like, how a puppet is, you stick your hand through the puppet and you do all that. I am simply I'm a tool for Christ or a tool for God to try to bring people closer to him. And somehow, some way, God's using that through my art. So
Yeah,
even just the fact that I'm even on an interview with you tells me that God's worked through his magical hands and whoever sees this, that God's been using me in that way through my art. So for me, it's always been for me, it's always been God above all. So yeah. Um, the other part, the entire nature part. I'm sorry if I'm not answering these questions like as good as possible. I'm not too good at that, but like when it comes to Christ's nature and things like that, I really have my honest first encounter, or sorry, not even that. I grew up in the Christian church or Baptist church. I grew up in the Baptist church. I've always been around, like, or always been hearing about God can do this for you, God can do that for you. But my first real encounter in terms of like truly God's beauty and God's nature was when I went to Mammoth. I went to Mammoth, California. Or sorry, not Mammoth, but like Mammoth. I went out there and I saw real strength and beauty. And I just felt God's presence in that moment. So I feel like I didn't answer the question at all. You can re-ask it and I can try again. But yeah.
No, 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 no. Actually, you did answer the question. It was really just about how big of a part does reflection and God play in your art? And you've already answered it tremendously with you bringing us into how you feel like you're a vessel for Christ's movement through you and your art. Um, like I was saying, sorry, you also delve into this motif deeper, and this ideal deeper in your poetry. I noticed you confront things like your mortality, time passing, and the contemplative nature of being alive. What brings you through to these ideas? How do you get there? Is it a byproduct of your faith, or is it just a machination of you being alive?
More so a machination of me being alive. I've experienced, like, not to bring the mood down, but death in a sense. Like, I
Mhm.
never died before, obviously, but like I've had people around me that passed away. I've seen people like, people around me that passed away, people that I've talked to in the past that are no longer here today. And I would say death, in a sense, really shook the entire thing of like, you're not here forever. Like, you have a purpose, but you're not here forever. So I would say to answer that question, death brought me, or in a sense, like turned on that entire narrative for me. So,
Yeah, I think that's pretty profound, especially as as somebody who also has an experience with or multiple experiences with death. Um, Seeing you answer these questions, especially, I don't know how old you are, but I assume you're in your early 20s. Um,
mm,
I'm in my early 20s too, but like seeing that you're in your early 20s and seeing how you are really not afraid to identify with the subject matter is inspiring. What would you say to your somebody who's looking at you and looking at your artwork, who is younger, who is trying to tackle these really big subjects? What would be some advice that you give to them?
shoot, don't look at other people's work, look at your own. Meaning, what does that even mean? Look at your own life. Like, everybody's life is an example of their work. Don't look at somebody else and what they're going through, trying to replicate what you're going through, what they've been through. Look at what you're going through. So even if comparative, right?
Mhm.
Just coming straight off the bat, I wasn't raised in, what some people would consider like the hood or anything like that. But I would always discount what I was going through, what I've been through to somebody else that was raised in a harder environment compared to myself. Don't compare your life to somebody else's. Like, focus on what you've been through because everybody's been through their own trauma. And it's like you can only feel your trauma, if that makes sense. You can't feel somebody
Yeah.
else's trauma. So take that trauma that you've been through, or that pain, or that happiness, or that joy, that pleasure, which is all art, or creating or creation, and focus on that. Like, focus on yourself. Don't focus on somebody else. Does that make sense?
It does. You're completely fine. I'm asking to gain your perspective and to see what you're thinking about. It doesn't matter if that question penultimately pans out. It just is what you are thinking. That's all we're here for today. I want to
Oh,
start off by going to your older art and
man.
asking you how you feel about this. I actually um wrote down um it seems to some people very simple, but you say you talk about Medicare, loneliness, 9 a.m. And I want you to pronounce the name. Excuse me. I want you to pronounce how you're supposed to say it. Is it this Udutsin? Udutsin?
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's like it's supposed to be adulting, but back then
Oh,
I would intentionally spell things wrong for like imperfection. I would like intentionally try to be as imperfect as I can because there's no such thing as perfection. So that yeah, I would intentionally try to do that. But do you want me like to explain this one? Is Uh, for me back then, it was pretty much just the pains and stresses that go through or that one can feel or that someone can feel when it comes to trying to be an adult or wanting to run
Mhm.
through life so quick to where, oh, now I'm an adult, this is great, but now this stuff comes along with it. Like, having to work from 9
Yeah.
a.m. to 5 p.m. day in, day out. Like, you see that. Well, that's supposed to be a he, but um, like the only thing he's holding on to is money. Like there's nothing else in the case. Like he's holding on to money. There's loneliness, like the constant feeling of isolation, and like worrying about Medicare, health. That's why I try to draw the hair and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I am noticing more now that I'm like looking at it more deeply. I notice a common theme I'm also seeing is like you tackling depression. How deeply, how much are you able to transverse through feelings of deep, deep senses of sadness and this feeling of overwhelm within your art? And how has your art been, excuse me, has your art been implemental in moving through those feelings, or is it something you're still trying to make sense of?
Um, could you re-say the first part of that question? I'm sorry. I'll let
I,
you think.
you're good. I noticed that depression is like a really one of your core motifs. I see it in a lot of your paintings, like trying to get through that deep sense of sadness. How has your art assisted you in traversing through those feelings?
Mm. It's helped me visualize it in a sense. Like,
Mhm.
uh I feel like we have, or us as people, I've seen it in other people, but at least like for myself, I don't think I'm gonna speak for me. I feel like us as people, we tend to see other people depression and try to mask that on to our own to make it feel as if it's validated. Me seeing my own, depression or my own like state of mind helps me to feel better about it or like actually really internalize it and figure out a way about how am I going to go about it. Like sometimes I'll draw it out or I'll just write it out. I'll go, okay, so this is how I feel. This is what I'm going to do to get better. I'm a very like action oriented type of person. But yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think the idea that action and bringing it to life can very much transcend this moment is really beautiful. I think that in your work, you're oftentimes catching us in these confrontational periods where we have to acknowledge the things that we're seeing actively. I think that's really exemplified in this piece right here, um, which you titled, and forgive me, I am going to get this correct. You titled this piece Wrong Point of View.
Mhm.
And you said life was meant to be observed through these, and you have this constant motif that I really fuck with. I'm sorry, I'm geeking the fuck out,
Oh,
but it's the eyes, this constant like use of these eyes and using eyes to draw us to different places within your work. Um, I think it's also a nod to the phones, but I want you to explain more about why and what made this come about and what commentary you were trying to make about society.
mm, dang. Honestly, when I was really making this photo, it was about two things. Like one thing was that, of course, the obvious that we're always staring through our phones, but if you ever wonder what, you know, yeah, this one was so good. I remember doing this. Like whenever you go to an event and people are recording on their phones and it gets shared through
Yes.
social media, and it's like, okay, what they recorded on their phone is shared to you. You're
Yes.
only staring at like, you're going through life. People spend like 8 hours a day on their phones. But it's like when you're going through life, watching other people's lives on their phone 24/7, 365, your perspective, your eyeball, like your perspective, what you think is only their perspective, and their perspective is what they're showing you. So when you're always on your phone, you're always looking at the perspective of other people. You don't have your own perspective. Like some of these kids are like 15 years old thinking that life is so horrible because, somebody or because some type of political regime. Bro, your parents are millionaires. Why are you thinking that your life is horrible right now when your situation's so great? But you think that because you're influenced by somebody else's perspective. So like the eyeballs for me, especially like throughout my brand, have kind of always been a thing of perspective. Like, what are they looking at? Like, some people see a smartphone. I see another perspective, somebody else's perspective. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I really like hearing that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is excuse me, what I suppose is your next collection. But first, I really want to ask a question that I feel like is necessary. These flowers, are they a nod to getting out into nature? Because you're a really big advocate in that in your work. You talk deeply
Mhm.
about needing to leave this sense of this monotony, this regularness, and go do something that might seem unusual or grand or beyond yourself, at least going outside. Is
Mhm.
that what that means? And excuse me, is this what that means in this painting?
Yeah. 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 So, yeah, especially in this painting, the flowers are in need of like, you should go outside in a sense. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like the right, or in this case, looking at is the left eye is covered by nature. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
versus thing. You could be looking at this, which is like nature outside. You're not looking at your phone when you're outside. But it's like you could be looking at this, your real situation where you currently are, or you can be looking at this simulated situation where you think you are. So yeah, the flowers are definitely a huge nod of like not only nature, but like your actual situation or you actually stand at. So yeah.
Okay, and speaking of these flowers, this was your first collection um, that I
Yeah.
know of, titled Collection. And
Yeah.
I really love these pieces. It is screen prints on resource denim. You oftentimes say that your clothing is ethically sourced or reworked. What do those things mean to you, and why are they important to your brand? Is it because of the deep respect you hold for nature, or is it just an ethos you have behind clothing?
It's also like, sorry, you're saying
Oh, no, no, you're fine. I finished my question.
yes, there's like a very deep respect for nature. Like obviously, I know, or sorry, like I don't want to kill the environment, but it's also a thing of that these pieces have their own story to them. Of course, whenever I get them, I wash them like 5, 6 times. I kid you not, but I wash them like 5, 6 times. But each like ethically sourced, aka vintage, but each piece has its own story. Like they all had their own owner at one point. Like at one point, these were new. When somebody bought them, there was emotion behind it. There was like care or not care, but like, there was emotion. They were all new. Then they were cycled through and they had their own story. And then I got my
Yeah.
hands on them. And then I had a vision that I put my vision onto these pieces of clothing. And it's like the flowers in this case are on these. Not only do I really think that they're really cool after I drew it, but it's kind of honestly, they were I can't really remember the entire thing behind the entire flower collection, what it really
Mhm.
stood for. But yeah, I don't know. I really like them. But the vintage pieces themselves, like each piece has its own story. So yeah, sorry.
No, 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 no worries. I appreciate you for explaining it to me, and why you choose to do rework vintage. Is this something that you hope to continue and be consistent in, or is this just a temporary thing for you where you're learning, moving through your artistic lifespan and just trying to figure it out?
It's something I definitely want to continue to be consistent in. Like eventually I want to still can or eventually I want to continue or grow into, selling nothing but only new things. Or not only new, but like every once in a while there's a personal drop that I sat there and I created. And I'm not gonna upsell it for $1,000 for a t-shirt, but yeah.
And that actually brings me to my next question before we get into human worries here. You are really, really, really big on affordability and bringing your clothing to people in one manner that they can afford, but also in a manner that they can, in a way that they can engage with your art holistically. Is that just like you seem like a person who is very driven by their morals and how you want to interact with the world. That being said, what was the thought process behind that? But
Um, I was really disgusted by greed that I'd see. I'd see a lot of people like I don't know, it's just greed. I don't like greed. I really don't like greed. It just doesn't sit well with me. Like you have these people that genuinely support your brand. Like I understand the entire thing of like the supply, demand, and all that stuff. But when you have people that spend their hard-earned money to go buy your stuff, it shouldn't be destroying their pockets where they got to decide one thing versus the other. It's just a thing of greed, and I really don't like greed. So like as long as I can possibly keep doing it, I want to keep my shirts personally like sorry, I want to keep my shirts under max price 25. I'd never want to try to sell a shirt for more than 25 unless if it's something like 6 hours to make. But yeah, I just don't like greed. I hate greed. And
Okay, and you
Mhm.
you say you don't like greed. Is there um any other I guess you could say deadly sins that disgust you to the point of where you as an artist have decided, you as a creative mind, as an individual, really a human, have decided that I don't ever want to be or exist in this vein. What do those things look like, especially within your art?
Um, I mean, for me, it's really only just been, I'm sorry, it's really only just been greed, like in a sense of like I want to build a community. All these other brands and artist pages and stuff like that, like they all have community. And the people who support your brand, they built you. Like, yes, you are the one who's turned around painting it, but they're the ones who are liking your stuff. Just by them liking it pushes it further into the algorithm. They're making your money. Don't turn around and hurt the people that brought you up, if that makes sense. But it's really only just greed. Like I have a strong dislike towards greed.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. Um, Speaking of greed, you made this painting. It's called Human Worries. You have a lot of different things that are on here, none of which take away from the painting, which is a talent you have where you can put so much on the board, on not just the board, on your medium, and still say something with clarity, which I have to applaud you for. Um,
Thank you.
but you talk in this painting and you're asking questions about whoever the viewer is, and it says to be different is to be unique. You then have the additional motifs of the eyes and the flower. And I noticed that there was one interesting portion, which is this gun. What was going on in the world, in your world rather, when this painting came about?
Damn. I had just moved into my own place. I had moved out of my dad's house. I was living with my dad, and I had just moved into my own place. And it was, I had just moved into my own place, and I was like, just into the world, or just now, like trying to get into the world. And I felt a lot of pressure. I had a lot of pressure on my mind, and that gun, like, I'm not suicidal or anything, but that gun was definitely seen as like, it's more of a thing of like you always have a way out, even though you don't
Yeah.
want to, but that's the realistic thing about it. There's always a way out. That's what that gun symbolizes there. But when I was going through that point, it was a lot of pressure, like a lot of pressure to be like everybody else in a sense of, um, I don't know, like just to be like everybody else, like go to the bars or go to the clubs or something like that. And yeah, so during this time when I made this painting, there was just a lot of pressure that I felt was on me, if that helps at all.
So I want to make sure my timeline is correct. Does this come before or after the need to succeed?
This is before the need to succeed.
Okay, so if this is before the need to succeed, we come out of this with the need to succeed. Why? And there's a transition between them, right? Where the first one is a little bit discombobulated. We're a little bit all over the place where you are going through all these thoughts and all of these feelings and emotions. And then we get to the need to succeed where you seem very hungry and very tunnel vision about that. Like, I need to succeed. And how do we how do we get to this point, this specific mixed media piece? Because I picked up very quickly that there was a lot going on. You have some papers from a book, you have this craft paper or cardboard paper, and then we get the first, what I believe to be the first iteration of this red face motif.
Yeah, that becomes a strong staple. But
It does, and it's a beautiful one.
thank you. Pretty much, I was gonna start off with the need to succeed itself, or no, oh, sorry, go back. How we actually got here. So that prior, or that, sorry, I'm gonna call it the pressure one. I forget the name of it, but I went from having a lot of pressure, and I would say that pressure created this hunger inside of me that I I need to succeed. I have people that aren't really, they're not. I have people that are counting on me, people that look up to me, and it's like I need to win. The failure isn't necessarily an option. And I wouldn't say that was even too much of a healthy thing of this entire possessive need and like this possessive hunger that I had, which
Yeah.
led to the creation of this painting. And I could explain the painting if you want to. Um,
Yes, please.
so the
Please.
I'll start with the top left corner. Um, that's the real essence of the picture. That's the needing to succeed in a
Mhm.
sense. Like that's how I felt that my mind was. It was like I had all these thoughts running through my mind, but all of them were I need to win. And it was possessive or not. Yeah, I would even say yeah, it was possessive. It was to an extent even satisfying to feel that drive that I had. And that's what I say. And I try to really replicate that into the actual, into the little figure itself. And then it would become like, a very popular part of all my art pieces going after this. And I really enjoyed actually making them or making it. And then to the right of that, you actually have three little heads twice. And
Yes.
those three little heads are actually meant to represent my siblings, the siblings I came from, my mom, which is my brother, my sister, and my sister, and I drew them two times. But it's on because I'm the oldest out of all of them, and
Mhm.
I want to not only succeed for myself, but I want to succeed for them to where they don't need to go into this entire thing of doing what they need to do to survive. I can be
Yes.
one to help them pick them up and put them on the path to where they do what they're actually really passionate about and help fuel that entire passion of theirs.
Mhm.
And going to the left of the poster on the very top right corner, you have three eyes. Those three eyes they're symbols of God in a
Mhm.
sense. Like, God's the Holy Trinity. You have three, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And to me, that is, he's always watching. Every move that I do, every word that I say, he's always observing, he's always watching. And then if you go to the right of succeed, you have this face.
Yes.
In a sense, that's the face of imposter, or I like to call them well, not call them, but to me, they're the things that can fail me from succeeding, which is like imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
And for me, that's always been like knowing I'm doing good, but never feeling like I'm doing good or never feeling like I'm doing enough. And that's just one of the things that or that would help me to fail, or that would cause me to fail. And then going to the left of that is I stand in the confusion, or like this little poem that I wrote.
Yes.
I stand in the field of confusion where I ask questions that are never to be answered. Man,
Yeah.
that was I put that on pieces of paper because like knowledge in a sense, they're always in books.
Yeah.
So I put them on pieces of paper. But it's more so about, okay, I want to succeed in this. I don't want to succeed in anything else. I want to succeed in this. How do I do it? Nobody has the questions. Like I can't go to my parents about this. I can't go online about this because every, clothing brand or artist dude, they're just gurus that are trying to sell you a course that they got from somebody else. They're trying to lie.
Yes.
But it's like none of them have, a concrete, like nobody has the answer. And I felt like
Yeah.
at the time, God wasn't answering my question of like, how do I succeed in this? And
Yeah.
yeah, but and then if you look to the right, which seems to be a naked lady, it's not. Well, it looks like it, but it's not. What that's supposed to be is actually to my mind, the representation of uh no, the representation of the devil in a sense of like I try to make him more so into the corner, but in a
Yeah.
sense that he's always there to watch you fail. Whether you want him to or not, he's always there to watch you fail. And I feel like that was at the time my best representation of him.
I appreciate it though because when you first start looking at the painting, you see all of the subject matter and then you get to the bottom. what is it, like right corner, and we get to really see this unsettling being, this unsettling creature creation, and you're a little bit worried, like what is the purpose that this being serves? But now you talking about God and the devil in your work, it makes sense, which the three eyes are a motif that comes about again. They're another consistent motif in your work. I actually have seen in another one of your paintings, you say that representation, or rather, you name them side by side and you call it the all-seeing eye. Is that your interpretation of what God is in this sense? Well, in our temporary realm to you?
Yeah, and like yeah, God sees everything. Like you can't go into no room where he's not. God's everywhere. So I believe I know what you mean, but like in this specific answer, or this specific example, he's the three eyes.
Yeah.
No, no, yeah, that's him. That's him all the time. Yes, the all-seeing eye is also him.
Yeah. I am going off a little bit because we don't have a lot of time, but I'm having a lot of fun talking to you. Um, I want to talk about this because we get that facial motif again, and you do a little bit of different iterations. When you're changing up the teeth, is that supposed to signify the different emotions, the range of emotions you're feeling at that moment?
It's what it's supposed to signify is actually the voices themselves. I'm not insane, but in a sense of like, when you have a drive and you want to do something, it sounds like there's multiple voices in your head. The different changes in the teeth are supposed to represent, the different voices in that sense.
Okay, I appreciate that. Then we get to this, which is realize, realize, realize. And I wish I
Wow.
had typed it up, but it's real eyes, as in the ones in our
Mhm.
faces, realize to come to a realization, and then realize like I am telling you a untruth. How did we get to this specific screen print? It is super interesting, super fun, and super fresh. I do need to commission you, but it's super fun, super funky, and super fresh. How do we get here?
Honestly, even just from that, what was it called? It was after I had been lied to by it was
Ooh.
somebody in the clothing brand industry. I can't actually I know exactly who it is. I just don't want to say their name.
Oh,
But
we don't
I
have
had
to.
been I had been lied to by them in the terms of like more so, man, how do I say it? I had been lied to by them in a sense of like what their brand image is, who they portray themselves to be, and I had been lied to. And after I had been lied to that first one time, it was easy for me to recognize everybody about who they actually are, no matter about what they post, what their specific niche is, everything. And then even not only in clothing brand, but in artist spaces, entrepreneurial spaces, all that stuff. So yeah.
So it was like seems like a real change in your perspective, especially surrounding the industry you're tapping at, you're in, and figuring that out. I know we can't get too much into that, but what comes after is that, well, since you're going through this time period of like real reflection, what comes after is incredibly profound. You have this clothing piece you title The Lord Up Above, which I thought was I thought was pretty fair. It's one of the more complex clothing pieces that I had seen thus far from you. And it has this face. I actually was really interested in seeing where that face came from, or if it's even an important portion of what you were doing with your art at that point.
Ah man, I remember this one. Ah man, yeah, I remember this one. The Lord Up Above, actually, that piece was made long, long, long before. I would say a good year before that. The red faced one with the that pants one, that one was made a good
Mhm.
year before, but the meaning of it had changed in a sense of, or not the meaning of it changed, but it was I felt brave enough to actually tell the story, and it was more of it was an even deeper significance. Um,
Yes.
at a point, it was more so of that that face. I don't remember where I got it from, but for me, that shirt was or sorry, it was more so a thing of at a point in my life, I felt hopeless and I felt like I had
Yeah.
real purpose and I was slipping into depression. I remember I
Yeah.
had said this prayer on my walk that God, if you're somewhere above, please give me a sign. And I remember when I looked up from saying that prayer, the first thing I had seen was that it was a specific rose, or not rose, it was a specific flower. I forget the name of the flower that I had seen. And I don't know why, but I just felt so called to this super common flower that I see all the time, every time I go on a walk. So I took a photo of it and it became monumental to me. I remember when I had looked up, I had saw a bird that had flown by right at that moment as soon as I looked up. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And then we get, which your work is very consistent and cohesive. And I presume that's literally just how you work. Is there a is there a way, a specific way you've organized yourself as an artist in order to be able to have this consistency, or is it just a part of the way that you work currently?
I feel like it's just a way, or it's just a part of the way how I work. I try to be as genuine as I can.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like to sit there and prepare for every single little thing is to be fake in a sense. Like everything's
Hmm.
preparated. I don't want to be
Yes.
preparated with anything. I just release as it comes to me. And thankfully,
Yes.
I've been able to be semi-consistent in releasing things of new ideas.
And this piece is specifically a proclamation of your faith. You say, I believe in religion. Specifically, we know that it's Jesus Christ. You have these two crosses and this patch over here that I believe is screen printed. What time period does this piece exist in? Is this also near the Lord up above, or does this happen at a later date?
This was after the Lord Up Above. So it's like the Lord Up Above happened before I even moved out of my dad's house. But this was of a way later time period, if anything.
Mhm. All right. And since it's about the 40-minute mark, I don't want to keep you too often. I hope that we can do this again. But the last thing I really, 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 really want to get into, I wrote it down, um, was your latest piece, which I unfortunately do not have a picture of, but you just dropped it on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
And it is titled, I Am Who I Am. How do we get to that point of you proclaiming that you are who you are, you know who you are, um, and that this is just who you know yourself to be?
It was a big thing on being transparent with not only, the world, but with myself. It
Mhm.
was I remember. It was like a very big thing on to not be sorry. Transparent with the world, but then being transparent with myself. I would, because the world only knows what I show it, but I know who I am. And also I know when I'm trying to lie to myself. So a lot of it, or not a lot of it, but at certain points, even through my artistry career, or just being an artist in a sense, I would even call that I even was lying to myself about who I am, or this is what I do, or this is what I want to show off to the world. When in actuality, I'm this person. I'm just not confident enough to actually show anybody. So we went from that entire stuff at the very beginning of no more. Oh, we didn't get to that one, but of no more of all those other stuff that we had been talked about earlier to this point right now, because it's more like of a self-discovery thing. Like this is me. I'm not trying to lie. I'm not trying to hide myself. I don't need to people please in a sense or anything like that. Like I am who I am. I can't hide myself from myself, so I won't hide it from anybody else. And yeah,
I'm sorry, you talked about no more, and that's actually in my notes. It's what it seems a bit self-explanatory, especially since we have this contemplative looking fella on the jacket. We get no more. Why is no more important to I am who I am?
knowing more is more so like not only knowing, well, not only knowing more about the environment that you're in and like everything else around you, the world around you, but also getting more to know yourself. I would honestly want to argue that a lot of people don't even know who they are. So it's like you want to get to know more about you and know more about yourself. And since from when I dropped that entire shirt to now, it's been a huge process of getting to know myself and who I actually am. Like, who is Zion? And yeah, like even asking who is Zion has made me come to ask, okay, what is even actually convey? Like, what is convey? Is it because I've been dropping more art paintings than I have even been dropping clothing. And it's like it's convey clothing, but I've been dropping art. So it's been asking me, it's been making me ask, why is there even a clothing aspect of it if you're not just an artist? So yeah, it's like getting to know more.
And it goes back into the original ethos of your entire movement. You say that it's not just a clothing brand to you, it's not just art, that it is a movement, that this exists as almost an entity, a living, breathing thing. And to that end, I just want to say I really, really, really hope that we can have a conversation and finish like what we were talking about today because I have like two more pages of notes.
No, yeah, just let me know. Just let me
And
know.
yeah, I got you. Um, but yeah, you said now we're at the I am who I am era, right? Of
Mhm.
your clothing. And I'm excited to see exactly what comes out of this era of you knowing yourself to a greater extent than when you started. In any case, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Actually, first and foremost, please go shop conveyclothing.com and follow Zion at Convey Clothing on TikTok and Convey Official on Instagram. Thank you. But is there
Thank you.
anything you'd like to say?
If I can leave, well, thank you for having me. I want to say that it's been actually a great interview. I've even been learning more about like just the transgression of like who I was and who I am versus who I was then versus who I am now. If I
Yeah.
can leave anybody with anything or any other versions of people that may be like me, I would tell them to look at your own life. Don't look at anybody else's. Don't worry about what they're doing. Look at yourself. Each individual story, everybody's story in the end is a story. Enjoy your own story before you go trying to go enjoy somebody else's. That makes sense. So that's what I leave them with.
In any case, thank you so much for coming. Guys, this is Andoel, tastemaker, curator, world changer, and you should go change the world. Thanks,
Thank
Zion.
you. Thank you.